Hey everyone, this is that old man shit I tell you guys about. One of those things happened that something happened to me, and I was remembering some things that happened to me back when I was living in Arizona. So we're talking at least 20 years ago, but probably 30 and 40 years ago. These things, because that's at the time frame that I lived there, from about uh, 22 or 23 till um, it was after I was in my 40s, so about 44, somewhere around that. I lived in Arizona, and if my memory's right, but at that time, by the time I lived there, I had already lived in probably at least six, maybe 7 or 8 states. Uh, Ohio was never a state I ever wanted to live in whatsoever. Been there many times. When I grew up in Indiana, Kings Island, we did Kings Island all the time. And once we got into high school, you could get a pass to Kings Island. We could be to Kings Island in a few hours and have fun and then still get home at night, even as teenagers. But I knew about the hills and everything. I knew the layout of Ohio, and I'd been all through Pennsylvania and Ohio, and I've been all through these areas. But Ohio was never a state I ever planned on wanting to live in or cared to live in. And that's one of the reasons why I fought this so hard to become a resident here. But I was doing some work. We did a lot of work for retirement communities out in Arizona. We called them the snowbirds, and this is the same thing in Florida. When I lived down in Florida, the snowbirds would come in during the winter, and if they lived on the west, well, even a lot of people from the east coast come out to Arizona because you didn't have to worry about hurricanes or anything like that bothering you because you didn't even get snow in Mesa. You didn't hardly get any kind of weather. It was just sunshine all day, every day, you know. And, well, matter of fact, we prayed for rain. We wanted the rain to fall just to give us a break from the sun because at 118 degrees on an average, that's hot, people. But when I was living out there, I think it was in this place called Gold Canyon out at the foot of the Superstition Mountains. They had a community out there that all these houses were 55 and older. You couldn't live there if you wasn't at least 55 or older. Most of them had money, and these houses would sit empty during the summer because these people would all go home, and then they would come back for the winter, and they would live there during the winter months, probably or half the year, at least 4 to 6 months of the year. And then the rest of the year they would sit empty, and they had security guards and shit that watched the whole place, make sure nobody was being robbed or anything. Most of them drove golf carts in the community. They didn't. They were, that was their own community, and they had a golf course and they had a clubhouse that had restaurants and a bar and all this in it. So if they didn't have to go to the store or anything, they just going to eat or something. They could get in their golf cart and drive up to the clubhouse. Well, me and my dad started doing some work in that community years ago under his painting business, and there was several times we went into there to do work over the years, and these people would we would get the job and everything. We'd be painting the houses, and the people's houses that we were painting, they would come up to me and I'm in my probably 30s at the time, folks, somewhere around mid to late 20s, early 30s, mid 30s, somewhere around that. So I didn't look exactly like I look now. So I was younger, and these people come up to me, several families, families and groups of people. And they come up to me, and they were all basically from the same area up here in Ohio. There was I can't remember the town. I'm not saying it. I don't know what. I can't remember what part of Ohio, whether it was northeast, southwest, whatever. I can't remember what part of Ohio they said they were all from. But they all had lived together or lived in this town in Ohio, and they were friends in Ohio, and they all went down to Arizona and bought these houses in this community that when they opened up, they would buy one of them. So they had a bunch of them that lived in this one community. And so they knew each other. Even during, they moved to Arizona for the winter, and they still had the same neighbors. I guess when you got money, you can do that stuff. But these guys, I was painting on this one house, and the people that I was painting their house, man, they walk up to me and they go, "Look, have you ever lived in Ohio?" And at that time, I would never have lived in. I said, "Nope, never have." Said, "I've been through there many times, Kings Island and stuff." I said, "But I lived in Indianapolis, never lived in Ohio." And are you sure? And yes, I'm sure. And these people would go down the street. They got this other couple and brought them down to the house where I'm working. I ended up painting most of these guys' houses in there when it needed to be painted. They would just get a hold of me, and I'd go in there and paint them. But these guys went down and got this other couple, and this other couple comes down there, and they're looking and watching me walk around, and they're talking to me, and they're going, "Now, come on. You had to live in," I can't remember the city, Ohio. And I go, "No, I ain't never lived in Ohio." I think even if my dad was there, my dad might have been helping me on that. I said, "You can go around there and ask my dad," you know. And they're going, "Man, there's this guy in Ohio. He walks like you, same height as you, looks just like you, talks like you, the same slang, the same voice and everything, just like you. Are you got to be messing with us? You ain't never lived in that town." And I can't remember the town. I'm going, "People, I'm telling you right now, I have no want, nor would I have ever wanted to live in Ohio. I've never, and I probably never will," is what I told them. And there was about 5 or 6 of these families in that community there that they were convinced I was the man that lived up there in that town at one time, around all them. And it ends up another 30 years later, my ass is sitting in Ohio. And I surely didn't want to be here. My son, when he got out of the Marines, he met a young lady in North Carolina. She was graduating college at about the same time he was getting out of the Marines. And they were together, and they decided to move up here to Pennsylvania. It's right here close to the border of Ohio and Pennsylvania. And they ended up, they're married now, and they're the ones that gave me my first granddaughter. But if not for them, I would have never lived in Ohio. And it just, it was something, I don't know what I was doing, but that memory came back to me, and I wanted to share it with somebody before I forget it again. But that is kind of, it's one thing to look like somebody and maybe even walk like them. Maybe even to sound like them, but to have the same kind of accent, I don't know. But I know it wasn't me. I know it wasn't me. So, and people say that, we all have people that could be our twins out here in the world somewhere. And I guess to a point that would have to be true, especially when you're talking 7 billion people on the earth. But for them people to be so convinced that I was fooling with them, lying to them. They was thinking they was convinced I was lying to them, that I denying that I lived there. For some reason, whether I was running from the law or something, they just knew I was lying to them. They just knew it was that it was me that lived in Ohio at that time, and I didn't. But you guys, God loves you. I love you. Just sharing an old man. It's not even a rant, just old man memory with all you young folks, you youngins. Litlons, that's what my uncle used to call kids, younger kids, 5 and under. Litlons. For little ones, it was just Litlons. I ain't kidding you. God loves you. I love you. Please find Jesus' path. That's all that matters, folks. Once you do that, you're on the right one. Till the next time.